We may just have you.
Ah, sweet.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, it's kind of a process. Luckily, I had to look into it, so.
Yeah. So Amanda is going to interview you. I'll introduce you to her in a second. One thing you're going to have to remember, Amanda, is that the screen actually switches who it shows when you talk. So just make sure that.
You can just click on the person, and then it'll show them all the time. If you want to show me all the time, which you might not do. That's, yeah.
Awesome. That's it. So let me introduce you to Amanda, and also this is Eli. Yeah, I'm going to swap seats.
Hey.
Hey, thank you so much.
I'm going to get my phone.
Yeah. We'll be back.
Is this okay for you, Loki? It must be almost 11 where you are.
It's 10:40. No, it's totally fine.
Okay.
Hey, where do you plug? Oh, never mind. I don't know. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I understand.
All right. I think I can hear you either way, but in any case. So, Loki, I know your name, but can you introduce yourself? How long have you been involved with C?
With C? Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, that was fun. Okay. Where was I?
You asked me how long I've been involved in C?
How long have you been involved with Skunkworks?
Oh, so I joined Skunkworks at the beginning of my junior year. So I was on the team for 2 years. So there was only 2 years of Skunkworks Robotics that I wasn't on, I guess. Up to that point. I graduated in 2010, and I graduated from the University of Washington in 2014. So it's been a while. I still, when I'm in Seattle, go to competitions and things because they're tons of fun, and I've poked around a bit. I still have friends. Actually, I think almost everyone I know on the team has graduated at this point, with the exception of, the adult mentors and stuff. So, yeah.
After robotics, what have you been doing? Like, what have you gone on to?
So I went to college. I was a programmer on the robotics team, and I went to the University of Washington intending to pursue math, and then just ended up doing more computer science. So I graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in computer science. And I've done an internship, and since then I have been doing research at Cornell, and now I'm interviewing at Google.
Huh. So what years were you on? Just like
2008, no, 2009 and 2010, 2008, 2009 and 2010, something like that.
All right. So let's begin with like the real questions. So
Cool.
Can you tell us what some of your inspiration for being involved with Skunkworks was?
My friends were involved in Skunkworks. Well, I had a friend who was involved in Skunkworks, and my sophomore year, they were doing the competition in Tacoma, and I decided that I wanted to go support him. He was my boyfriend. I wanted to go support him and watch the competition. I had wanted to join the robotics team, but I thought that I needed prior experience or something, and so I decided that I was going to take the robotics courses before I joined the robotics team. But I decided I'd go down and I would watch the competition. And so the night before, I stayed up and I sewed myself skunk ears and a tail. And I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and jumped on a bus down to Tacoma. And went to the competition, and it was so much fun, just running around in the pits and cheering in the crowds. They had these metal stands, and we like almost killed the announcers' eardrums. It was fun, and so it was just so much fun that I decided that next year I had to do it. So so I joined the team. Yeah.
Was this your first interaction with the team, or first?
I mean, sort of. My friend was named Griffin Nickel, also alumni. He's still going to the University of Washington. He'd been one of my best friends since both freshman sophomore year, and he joined the team. He was one of the founding members of the team, so he was on the team the first year, and so he was on the team, and so I heard lots about it, but I didn't actually go to any competitions or really know what it was about.
So you talk about Griffin a lot. So thinking back, out of the people on the team, who had the greatest impact on you and why?
So Griffin made me start the team, but honestly, I made all of my friends at Aviation High School and most of my friends now through robotics, through Scum. The list goes on and on and on. My current boyfriend for like 7 years now is Isaac Ackerman, who is also an alumni. My best friends are all basically from Skunkworks Robotics. Jay Weeks, you know, Mr. Weeks is there. And Kyle Edwards and Lydia Johnson and Thomas, both Thomases, Cody and De Silva, and Davis Yoshida and Meg Vader. And, you know, they're all of these people, Cole Miller, they're all from my time in robotics. And that's where I met them and that's where I hung out with them. And they're all the people I still have contacts with. I didn't make many friends in college. I mostly just stayed with the group of friends that I had from high school, and we still talk online. We hijacked a program meant for company chat purposes, and we're now using it for our own private chat, just so that we can all stay in contact all the time. So, yeah.
You mentioned some of the mentors. Do you have any good mentor stories about being on the team, or?
Well, Mr. Weeks was pretty much my only mentor on the team. We didn't have a lot of programming mentors when I was on the team, and I was a programmer. So we had like 2, but they didn't stay around for very long. And so there was a lot of self-teaching and self-learning around the robotics team. There was lots of help of the internet. And Mr. Weeks, even though, you know, he was very much involved in every part of the team, luckily he was involved in every part of the team because we needed somebody. And so he was kind of like the one adult around that knew anything about what we were doing. Yeah. And Mr. Miller, so I programmed, this was before we knew what SQL was. And all of the fancy like Tableau and stuff that you use now, which is so much better. But Jay decided, and I inherited his project, that the best thing to do in order to get scouting statistics was to program Excel. And so Jay programmed this Excel thing, and then I programmed this Excel thing, and that was the thing for years. And so I worked very closely with Mr. Miller on scouting data and stuff, just working with the systems team on, organization and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like of all of the different aspects of all the different like teams on robotics, we were kind of the most independent from mentors, I guess. We in the old building, we would always be off in the field, and the field was never close to the shop or anything. Because it had to be in the gym, and the gym was on the other side of the building, like as far as you can get. So we were kind of just like in the back of the gym on the field, like complete everybody. And I just remember like whenever we needed anything, having to run like the giant lengths of this building in order to get somebody to come help us. Oops.
Okay. Gotta pick up a new question. So. Okay, what is it? You were part of like, I guess, scouting, which is pretty dear to me right now, and programming. So, what are some of the skills that you learned that you still use today that might not be some of the technical skills? Maybe things that you've learned.
Right. Well, technical. Sorry, to totally disregard your question.
Okay.
I wouldn't have gotten into the field I'm in now if I hadn't done programming on the team. So that's kind of important to me because it really allowed me to jump ahead in the class so that I could learn more and get into a program that kind of got me into the field. But outside of that, like robotics was like the only social activity we had in high school. Like if I wasn't on the robotics team, I was at home like staying up all night studying constantly because aviation high school was just insane on the amount of workload we had. It was like, oh, this is a fine workload for one class. I've got 8 of them. And I really feel like if I hadn't been on the robotics team, I would have forgotten how to interact with other human beings. Yeah.
Sounds like it's breaking up a little.
Oh, sorry.
Keep going? Sure, why not? So speaking of interacting with other people, gracious professionalism, how would you define it?
Gracious professionalism is one of my favorite things in robotics. Gracious professionalism is where you communicate and interact with other teams in a constant, you treat everybody as if you're in a professional environment, as if you are working in the same company on the same team, even if they're in other teams, even if they're your opponents this round, and not just because they could be your opponent, they could be your allies next round, but because you're all working together on the same project, just in different ways, and you can all learn something from each other. And it's one of the things I really love about robotics because I do not like competitive environments. I really like cooperative environments, and whenever, there were times when we did not, and it was so great having other teams that we were really good friends with because, something bad happened to us and we could cheer for them or vice versa. And it just meant that even when we weren't on the field, there was always something to be watching. And there are so many teams that had problems because they didn't demonstrate gracious professionalism back when it was like a new idea, gracious professionalism. And I feel like everyone's kind of gotten that under like that understanding now. But this everybody as if they were all a part. You're all different teams on one big company working towards one big goal is really one of the key aspects of robotics, I think.
So you mentioned other teams. Do you have anything memorable about partnering up with other teams or being influenced by them?
When I joined, we were always very, very friendly with 488 and 1318. To the point where still to this day, if anybody asks what time is it, and one of us robotics kids that I mentioned is around, we answer 488. To this day, it doesn't matter to who. It just it's been like 5-6 years, something ridiculous now, and that's still the answer to that question. I'm actually wearing the Moon Rock game shirt, where we had our fancy swerve drive, and 488 dominated that game, and I just remember us getting so excited every time their robot came out, just because of how well they were doing and how crazy exciting it was because of their design.
I am concerned laptop might die, but I think we've got enough time. It's fine. Let's see.
It happens, right? If you just suddenly go away, I know what happened.
I hope it saves. Anyways, let's see, 488, t-shirt. So how have you taken gracious professionalism into other parts of your life now that you've moved from Skunkworks?
Right. Well, I guess gracious professionalism, I feel like you kind of showing gracious professionalism in robotics is almost kind of the hardest environment to do it because you're not one big company. Treat everybody like you are. Sometimes you are competing against these people. But when you're actually working for a big company, there are so many different teams, and being able to work with those teams is really, really important, even if you don't know what they're working on, especially teams that aren't working on the same kind of thing as you. Especially in computer science, oftentimes you work at companies and there are programming teams, but there are also teams that do other things like graphics or data analysis or economics and things, and you have to work with them to incorporate their ideas and their knowledge into your work. And being able to do that when you don't really have a full understanding of each other is very important. And and not taking any animosity or anything you see as a personal slight is very important, because oftentimes it's not. It's just a miscommunication because you don't know how to communicate with each other, and I feel like that's really important.
So, kind of cultivating this mindset and environment, would you say that's one of first's more valuable contributions to STEM? What would you say FIRST does for STEM?
I would definitely say that environment is really important. I think that just the teamwork, whether that's in your team or with other teams, is one of the important things in robotics, because I feel like in college, everything's about your own personal work. You get projects, but everything's all anti-cheating, and personal projects are just working with one other person or two other people. And that's very different with working for a whole team. And it's especially different from being able to communicate and learn from competitors and other teams. And is not a skill that's really cultivated in a professional environment. It's not something that's taught to you, but it's something that you really need to have. And I feel like that is why it is so valuable. Also, sore losers are bad.
Huh?
Also, sore losers are always just really lame, so you know.
Okay. All right. So if you could maybe remember back to like being on the team, do you have any memorable robot stories in the shop or on the field, or was that what you worked with? Maybe just, yeah.
Right. So I remember very long hours sitting. Oh man, I don't even remember the name of this game. What was the name of this game? Lunacy. Right. I remember it was something. We had the Lunacy field, which was that slick floored field. And I remember we'd stay like on Saturday nights, like it'd technically end at 5, and we'd be there at like 11 o'clock at night, trying to get the robot program, because we got, it takes there's a design period, there's a build period, and then there's a drive period. And, we only have like 2 weeks, or if that, in order to program everything. And I just remember, I just have like vivid moments of the robot being completely unresponsive to anything we did and having to just reset it. And it was like a 5-minute reset. And I just remember like at one point just kind of taking a break, and I was taking a dance class, and I just remember waltzing around the field. And whenever anyone asked, I would waltz over and press the reset button on the robot. And I remember it because, it doesn't sound like this innovative moment in robotics, but a lot of life is defined by having to stick something out and keep working and having a challenging problem and just needing to know when and where to take a break. And I feel like that was those were kind of my experiences with that. And I remember we realized that one of the motors had blown out on one of the wheels on the robot, which was and this was in the soccer year, and the entire build team had left because it was so late and it was just us. So I remember Mr. Weeks once again saving the day, helping me and instructing me on mechanically repairing the robot, even though I'd like never touched the mechanics of the robot before in my life, because we didn't have anyone else around, because it was just us programmers. And I just remember working on the robot, like putting on this motor, and that was fun. And just like, I don't know, one of the nice things about being a programmer is that you kind of have to know every part of the team. You have to know all the how the entire electrical system is wired up, because you have to know which wires and which ports connect to which motors. And you have to know how all the motors and things work, because you have to know how to program them. And you even have to know how systems work, because actually, I don't think we actually did. It's just all our friends were in systems. So we really knew how systems work too. And it was really valuable knowing all of the different parts and all the different pieces and how the robot worked. And I really always loved like going down in the robotics competitions and being able to talk to people and being able to explain and being able to answer any of their questions, because there are so many like different people on the team who knew their portion of the team. And as a programmer, because I had to know everything and I could answer anyone's questions. And I also just love talking to people.
I'm okay.
Talking too much, apparently.
No. This is great. I'm just really worried like the computer's gonna die in a second, and everyone left the room.
You can run out and grab somebody if you want. I can wait. I'm fine.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay.
I may or may not talk too much.
This thing,
What is that thing?
it's a combiner. It takes ores and puts them back in the rocks.
Why?
I don't really know, but it's really useful for redstone because you can get cinnabar out, which is the only way to make shiny metal, which is having a durian.
Can't you like get two things out from crushing it?
It takes more than.
Oh, okay. So you couldn't do like a cycle?
No.
Oh,
you couldn't
man.
get different ores.
I was hoping. Here's the. Yeah. Oh, you can do cobblestone?
It takes in cobblestone and the ore and produces.
Oh, I figured it'd take smooth stone. I mean, it makes sense that you can put stuff back in cobblestone, but. Has a fun display.
It's not gonna have too much, but I don't think it's a problem.
That's. I mean, this is pretty hard. It makes sense.
Let's see. And sorry, Loki. Okay.
Power! Yep, you froze. Or crashed out.
Died.
Died. Plug it in and the laptop immediately dies. I'm just gonna stay on this hangout and hope that, you know, it all works out in the end. Maybe I'll re-invite them. Doesn't look like I have the power to invite.